We have spent almost 3 months in total travelling across China, so we have learned a thing or two about being a tourist in China, and we will share them with you. We'll share our mistakes so you don't have to make them, and some tips that will make your trip to China much easier so you can get the most out of your trip. Now, first piece of advice I will give you, and this can carry to a few other Asian countries as well, and that is the traffic light system. Now, in most other countries, when you see the green man, which means you can walk across the road, that means every other vehicle stops. Not in China and a few other countries round about China. Cars still flow from the right, so be careful. Do not cross the road with your head in your phone, with your earphones in. Make sure you're looking in every direction because you do not want to get splatted on your first day in China. So remember, green man doesn't mean everybody stops.
Tip number 2. Trip.com is going to be your best friend when you are travelling around China, whether it's booking hotels, flights, booking the trains throughout China, and you can also buy an eSIM directly from Trip.com, and this is the one that we used. It worked all across China from Beijing, Shanghai, Wuhan, all the way up to Xinjiang. This eSIM is fit for everyone. You can get extra data or a small amount of data if you're travelling for a short period of time or a long period of time, and it is very affordable, actually the cheapest we have found when travelling all across the world. Trip.com also has many bonuses like excellent customer service. They will be in touch with you straight away no matter what the issue is, and they're also a points scheme. Whether you book hotels, flights, trains, you will gain points, and they have really good advantages such as free breakfast, discounts off hotels, and when you get to the top tier you actually get 2 free lounge passes to use, so doesn't get much better than that. And just to throw in, this is actually not an ad in any way, this is just our genuine experience and we couldn't rate it any more highly.
However, as Shannon said about using an eSIM, we do not recommend using an eSIM if it's your first visit to China, because with an eSIM it's only digital, you don't actually get a physical number, so it's really difficult to sign up for things like Alipay or WeChat. It's alright if you've signed up for these things before you've came into the country, but if you have not, then it's going to be completely impossible and you're going to need to go buy a physical SIM and pay double. So we would recommend, if it's your first time in China, just go and get yourself a physical SIM. Even if you get one for 2 days and then get an eSIM, make sure you have an actual number because you're going to need to register for so many apps. It makes your life 10 times easier.
Tip number 4, it may sound a bit stupid, but take a small amount of cash. You don't need lots, just a small amount, because everything in China is digitalized. So you could literally have a 4-week trip in China and not even use cash once, but you might come across these certain situations where you need to use it. So I would say it's very important to carry a small amount with you at all times.
Now, if like us you are backpacking across China and don't have lots and lots of clothes, then we advise to filter your search on Trip.com and look for hotels that have laundry facilities or washing machines, because it's extremely difficult to find laundrettes in China, and the very few that there are extortionate because they're actually like dry cleaners. They're not like the ones that you get in the Philippines or Thailand where you just take your load, there's loads of washing machines and they give you it back 2 hours later and it's like $2. It's not like that at all. So if you don't have very many clothes with you, then make sure you actually go out your way to find a hotel that has facilities to wash your clothes. Before you book your trip to China, make sure you check what time of year you are going. Do not travel during Golden Week, Chinese New Year, Spring Festival, because if you are going to try and travel through China during like a national holiday or big celebration, you are going to have an absolute nightmare. Trains will be booked. You'll get a hotel, okay, but that's all you'll do is you'll sit in your hotel because everything closes down. We were stupid enough to travel through China during Chinese New Year. We thought it was going to be the way Chinese New Year celebrated all around the world, big parades everywhere, all that sort of stuff. Nope, everything shuts down and everybody goes home to see their families. There's not much to do unless you enjoy eating KFC and McDonald's, so be very, very, very wary and do your research before you book your trip to China, and just check that there's nothing on that's going to get in the way of your time.
Now, if you're from the UK or US, do not be surprised when you arrive in China and the Chinese food is like nothing you've ever tasted before. It is completely different. It can be quite overwhelming when you first arrive. The menu's in Chinese, you have no idea what you're ordering. But one tip that we could give is maybe book on a food tour group when you first arrive, and that way you can ask questions about the food, the local cuisine, and you can understand what you like or dislike. We actually done a food tour in Guangzhou and couldn't recommend it highly enough. We tried many different dishes and got to ask many questions about the dishes and how they originated. So that gives you confidence to go out on your own and explore the Chinese cuisine, because it is absolutely insane.
And our final point is just a personal preference, and it's what we learned on each different trip we done through China is do not try and see the entire country in one trip. It's very tempting to want to see Shanghai, to want to see pandas, the terracotta warriors in Xi'an, then get up to the Great Wall of China, but you will spend more time in airports, more time on trains than you actually will getting to understand China and be on the streets in each place.
Recently we actually spent 1 month in the Yunnan province, and it has to be an absolute highlight of our China trip. And that is something that I would pass on to anyone. Choose a province, explore it, get in about these smaller towns, and you will always find someone that will talk English, and you can have more of a deeper conversation about the culture in China. Because while you're traveling about these cities, everyone's busy. They don't really want to stop and talk to you. So life in a city can become slightly boring and repetitive. So I think it's important to see both the city and these smaller villages where you can see a true representation of China.
Well, there is some tips from two very unprofessional travellers. That's just our experience of being a tourist in China. It's much different if you were to ask somebody who lives there. We're just sharing our experiences, our struggles, and things that worked well for us as a tourist, not as someone who lives there. So take that information or leave that information, it's up to yourself.